Picture this, one of gospel's most respected bishops standing before the world, not to preach, but to expose. Bishop Paul Morton has just named 5 of gospel's biggest icons, and with a voice heavy with pain, declared he will never forgive them. This isn't gossip, this is betrayal at the highest level, a wound carved deep into the heart of the gospel community. What could these legends have done to provoke such an unshakable wrath? The truth Morton reveals will not only shock you, it will forever change the way you see some of gospel's brightest stars. Welcome back to the channel, your #1 source for the most explosive, jaw-dropping stories rocking the gospel world. And trust me, what you're about to hear will leave you stunned. For years, whispers of a hidden controversy have floated behind closed doors, but now the silence has been shattered. Bishop Paul Morton, a giant in gospel music and ministry, has just done the unthinkable. He publicly named 5 of gospel's most legendary icons and revealed why he will never forgive them. These aren't petty disagreements or passing feuds. We're talking deep betrayals, broken trust, and scandals buried so far beneath the surface that most fans never even suspected they existed. In this video, we'll uncover the exact moments that pushed Bishop Morton to this breaking point, the untold history, the private relationships, and the shocking incidents that have remained hidden until now. You'll learn how these betrayals could forever alter the future of gospel music and tarnish the legacies of some of its brightest stars. This is the kind of truth that reshapes an entire industry, and you won't want to miss a second of it. So settle in, because what's coming next will change the way you see these icons forever. Let's get started. It's important to comprehend Bishop Paul Morton's background and the significance of his statements in the gospel music industry before delving into the shocking specifics of the 5 gospel legends he claims he will never forgive. With decades of experience as a singer, pastor, and leader, Bishop Paul S. Morton is a renowned figure in gospel music and ministry. He is renowned for his stirring sermons, soulful voice, an important role in forming the modern gospel. He established the Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship, which has developed into one of the church's most significant movements. He has a huge fan base and is well known for fusing contemporary sounds with traditional gospel roots. Beyond his ministry and music, however, Morton is a very religious guy. People pay attention when he speaks. Over the years, his reputation for integrity and unafraid truth-telling has brought him both praise and criticism. The gospel community therefore pays attention when Bishop Morton declares in public that there are 5 gospel icons he will never pardon. This indicates serious fractures in the core of gospel music itself, and it's not just personal. Given that Bishop Morton is no stranger to cooperation and fraternity in the gospel, this insight is all the more potent. He has collaborated with numerous renowned individuals and contributed to the mainstreaming of gospel. His criticism of colleagues in this manner raises questions that go well beyond basic differences of opinion. Seldom does a leader of his caliber publicly reveal the weaknesses in the most important relationships in gospel, fractures that have probably been concealed for years from the general public. Here's the problem though, there is more to this than a list of names. Bishop Morton has been severely harmed both personally and professionally by the betrayal, broken promises, or acts associated with each of these 5 gospel symbols. The cliffhanger is right here. His unforgiveness has more complicated and agonizing causes than most people realize, and its effects extend beyond these particular people. We'll examine the first gospel icon on his list in the following part and disclose the events that permanently severed their relationship. Many people believe that the first person on Bishop Paul Morton's list of gospel idols he can never forgive is a cornerstone of the genre, an artist who affected many others and helped to shape the industry. Although Bishop Morton hasn't mentioned this person by name in any of his interviews, sources attest that Morton's personal journey is entwined with this person's legacy. Their bond started out as a close friendship based on respect for one another and a love of gospel music and service. They worked together on several projects in the beginning, publicly complimenting one another and enhancing gospel status. Supporters viewed them as a single, purpose-driven gospel family, but everything began to fall apart behind closed doors. Sources close to Bishop Morton said that the first fissures arose over treachery and trust concerns, which gradually deepened. According to reports, one such episode led to a lasting break. This gospel icon supposedly ruined a high-stakes, collaborative effort in which Bishop Morton had devoted a great deal of time and money. It claimed that agreements were disregarded, plans were derailed without justification or apology, and commitments were breached. However, specifics were kept under wraps. For Morton, who places a high importance on honesty and loyalty, this was more than just a professional blow. This seemed like a personal betrayal, a transgression of Christian principles and fraternity. Public silence just made the agonizing aftermath worse. Insiders and admirers saw a chilly gap developing between the two, but nobody anticipated Bishop Morton would bear this scar so intensely that he would say he would never forgive. Because this early gospel figure is still held in such high regard today, the story is all the more captivating. It demonstrates the complexity of relationships in the gospel world, where hurt and adoration frequently coexist. But many people are unaware of this startling fact. This incident wasn't unique. It established the framework for a series of letdowns and betrayals involving other gospel figures. Bishop Paul Morton, the second gospel figure, is just as important as the first because he says he will never forgive. This person is renowned for being a trailblazer who elevated gospel music to new heights by fusing passionate preaching with soulful melodies, inspiring millions of people all over the world. This gospel legend and Bishop Morton formerly had a strong relationship, bound together not only by a love of music, but also by a desire to spread the gospel's message outside of churches. They worked together on projects, supported one another, and publicly affirmed their brotherhood as part of their collaboration. Their bond served as a symbol of the solidarity and power that gospel leaders sought to exhibit. However, a significant betrayal that affected Morton personally and had repercussions for the gospel community caused the friendship's surface to crumble. According to sources, this second icon compromised a joint ministry project they were working on by making decisions behind Morton's back. It was more than a small mistake. Morton was purposefully sidelined, and his contribution to the project was compromised. The fact that there was a violation of trust on both a spiritual and professional level compounded this betrayal. Morton has always placed a strong emphasis on transparency and accountability in the ministry. Thus, this infraction struck close to home. Even more concerning is the fact that this conduct was allegedly kept secret from the public, leaving Morton to deal with the hurt in private while the gospel icon's reputation held firm. Subtle indications of pressure shocked both men's admirers. Withdrawal of endorsements, joint absences from public gatherings, and enigmatic social media posts that allude to unsolved disputes. In addition to being a personal setback, this rupture called into question the foundation of gospel unity, sparking discussions among business insiders about loyalty, power dynamics, and the occasionally harsh realities that lie beneath the gospel's polished facade. Here's what they don't want you to know, though. There were repercussions for this betrayal that went beyond just the two people. Ministries, philanthropic endeavors, and even the faith of numerous followers who viewed them as role models were impacted. Bishop Morton has remained steadfast in the face of suffering. His inability to pardon this icon represents a line he will not cross and a preference for values over popularity. And as time goes on, it becomes evident that these injuries are a part of a larger pattern, a string of setbacks that make one wonder about the cost of gospel music's renown and the true cost of forgiveness. The third gospel figure on Bishop Morton's unforgivable list will be the subject of our next discussion, which will reveal yet another tale of strained relationships and betrayed trust. The tale of the third person on Bishop Paul Morton's list of gospel figures he will not pardon is one of intense affection turned sour disillusionment. Like the others, this person is a titan of gospel music, renowned for a career of uplifting service and worship. The friendship between Morton and this gospel hero began with admiration and common objectives. In the past, they were regarded as gospel powerhouses who collaborated to utilize music to inspire the church and inspire hope. Their friendship represented gospel unity, and their collaborations were the high points of gospel albums and tours. But tensions increased behind the scenes. The breaking point, according to reliable insiders, occurred during a widely reported gospel event where hopes for collaboration and support drastically collapsed. Morton had looked to this artist for both professional and spiritual support, but instead he encountered apathy and, according to some reports, outright hostility. Morton felt abandoned at a pivotal point in his ministry as a result of the betrayal, which was not only personal but also public. This gospel icon reportedly deepened the rift by siding with critics who questioned Morton's leadership and motivations. Even more agonizing was this icon's subsequent silence. No attempts at explanation or reconciliation. This quiet said a lot to a man like Morton, who values both accountability and forgiveness. The gospel world was rocked by this breakdown, and many were forced to face the fact that even the closest of gospel relationships can break down under duress. The abrupt coldness left many bewildered and unhappy, as they had earlier praised their closeness. Many people are unaware that many churchgoers and other artists who were caught in the middle were also affected by this third betrayal. In stark contrast to the gospel's message of love and unity, it brought a polarizing element. Bishop Morton, however, is unwavering. His refusal to forgive is more about upholding honesty and integrity in ministry than it is about harboring resentment. Given the severity of the hurt, he is unwilling to cross this line. And for you, here's a cliffhanger. The issue surrounding the fourth gospel icon on his list is so serious that it has never been made public. You will be genuinely shocked by the next anecdote, which shows how far some people would go to preserve their reputation, even at the expense of the gospel's fundamental principles. Keep an eye out. This is only the beginning. Bishop Paul Morton, the fourth gospel figure, claims he will never forgive. He is embroiled in a scandal so horrifying that it has been kept out of the public light for years. A gospel music classic with a multi-decade career, this performer is renowned for her impactful ministry and strong voice. However, there is a secret underlying this stellar image that has deeply hurt Bishop Morton on a personal and professional level. Several insider reports claim that this gospel figure engaged in activities that directly damaged Morton's ministry and violated the sacred trust held by gospel leaders. The controversy entails breaching confidential agreements and abusing power, problems that go right to the core of the integrity of the gospel. Even more concerning is the fact that, despite being discussed in private, this incident was never brought up in public. Protecting the artist's reputation, Bishop Morton believed that the fundamental values that gospel music upholds, transparency, honesty, and faithfulness, were profoundly betrayed by this concealment. Morton's friendship with this gospel hero was shattered by this covert scandal, which also clouded their previous joint ministry endeavors and undertakings. Morton was compelled to make the tough choice to keep his distance and to refuse to forgive. Given that Morton has long been seen as a role model, gospel music fans were taken aback when his remarks were made public. However, Morton's courage in bringing the issue to light sheds new insight on the intricacies and perhaps upsetting realities that lie beneath the glossy exterior of Christianity. However, few people are willing to openly discuss this element. Personal treachery is not the only aspect of the scandal. It brings up more general issues of accountability in church leadership and the way the business responds to scandals involving its top artists. Online, this revelation has generated a great deal of discussion. While some have called for reform and transparency, others have urged caution and emphasized the value of forgiveness and grace. The question hangs over us as we get ready to unveil the fifth and last gospel icon on Bishop Morton's list of things that cannot be forgiven. How many more secret scars exist behind the gleaming exterior of the gospel? Remain with me. This story will conclude with a potent message about forgiveness, faith, and the price of treachery. The result of years of suffering, disappointment, and broken trust is symbolized by the fifth and last gospel emblem on Bishop Paul Morton's list of things that cannot be forgiven. Once considered a brother in faith and a crucial ally in the development of gospel music, this person dealt Morton the blow that crushed his heart and soul. This treachery went beyond unfulfilled pledges and behind-the-scenes disputes, in contrast to the earlier tales. Bishop Morton's calling as a leader and minister was called into question by this deep personal and spiritual insult. According to people close to Morton, this gospel legend openly questioned Morton's ministry and motivations, circulating false information that damaged his standing in the gospel community. This betrayal is particularly terrible because it occurred while Morton was at his most vulnerable, looking for gospel musicians to come together and heal. Morton was cut off from some gospel congregations, and relationships were strained as a result of this act of slander. Personal hurt wasn't the only factor. It jeopardized the unity and confidence that are essential to the ministry and mission of the gospel. The pain was further exacerbated when attempts at reconciliation were greeted with denial or silence. According to Morton, forgiveness necessitates sincere remorse and responsibility, neither of which were provided. When Morton talked candidly about this final betrayal, Fans and industry insiders were taken aback. The news was all the more upsetting because many had viewed this religious figure as a spiritual mentor or leader. This last tale highlights the tremendous demands and difficulties gospel musicians encounter while trying to strike a balance between their personal integrity, ministry, and celebrity. It also emphasizes how difficult it is for leaders like Bishop Morton to uphold their morals in the face of adversity. Finally, I want to leave you with this notion. There is no retaliation or anger behind Bishop Morton's decision to not pardon these 5 gospel icons. It's a serious stance in support of responsibility, truth, and the sanctity of gospel work. This story challenges us all to think, as the gospel world attentively observes. What does it mean to truly forgive? And when is it appropriate to enforce boundaries? Bishop Paul Morton's public declaration of which 5 gospel icons he will never forgive exposes far more than personal problems. As we have discovered today, it reveals problems and cracks that are deeply ingrained in the gospel music industry. These are not merely tales of strained friendships or commercial conflicts. They illustrate the conflict between notoriety, faith, integrity, and accountability, and are reflections of grave betrayals that rock the foundation of gospel service. Bishop Morton's bravery in speaking up brings attention to the frequently unseen challenges that gospel leaders and artists deal with on the backstage. His unwillingness to pardon these myths is a plea for truth, healing, and a return to the central principles of the gospel, not a call for division. Fans are prompted to think about this information. To what extent do we actually know the people we look up to? And what criteria, both publicly and privately, should we apply to gospel leaders? This anecdote serves as a potent reminder to gospel musicians and ministries that success is not merely evaluated by loyalty, openness, and the readiness to maintain spiritual integrity even in the face of difficulty, rather than by honors or celebrity. Bishop Morton's narrative also highlights the importance of having open discussions about forgiveness, accountability, and restoration for the entire gospel community. Sometimes real healing and progress require setting and upholding boundaries. I'd like to hear from you now. How do you feel about the revelations made by Bishop Paul Morton? Do you think forgiving is usually the best course of action, or do you think some betrayals cannot be forgiven? Please share your candid opinions in the comments section below. In this discussion, your voice counts. In order to ensure that you never miss our in-depth explorations of the most explosive stories in gospel, please hit the notification bell, subscribe, and give this video a thumbs up if you found it eye-opening. Remember to share this video with loved ones who are interested in the real story behind the most popular gospel headlines. Check out the associated videos here if you'd like to see more stuff like this. You can also add playlists or video links. I appreciate you viewing, and I hope to see you in the next video where we continue to reveal the little-known tales that have shaped gospel music.